When you recruit high-profile external free agents, you have pitch meetings and put your best foot forward. Do you have a need, or do you anticipate that with Juan, or is that not needed since he spent the season here?
I think I had a conversation with Scott Boras yesterday, so I know he was going to have conversations with Juan. Since he knows us, we are standing ready to meet with him if he feels necessary to meet with us, as he, understands the landscape of opportunities that now exist for himself. He's played obviously in Washington, he played in San Diego, and now he's played here. So we are more than willing to meet as many times as he would like to meet. But I think Scott Boras was going to talk to Juan and get a feel for whether he felt it was necessary for us to have as many time in person with him as other clubs, because he knows us, so we stand ready to do whatever. We certainly have an interest in retaining him, and we'll put our best foot forward there. But at the same time, that'll either lead to us retaining him and signing him back, or we'll be forced to go to a different direction if we can't. And if we can't, there's a lot of different players in this marketplace that can positively impact this roster in different ways. So, we will be working on, every aspect of opportunity and exploring any way possible to put together the best team we possibly can for 2025, because we want to get back to where we just finished, which was in the World Series.
Did you get any opportunity to have an exit interview with Juan at the end of the season, just to tell him, hey, we'd like to have him back? Or?
Just to thank you. He knows that. He knows how we feel. We approached him during the season, as you guys are aware, and he wanted to wait till the off season. So after the season, I had a chance to thank him for everything and told him we'd be in touch. And then since that time, I've talked to obviously Scott as well, and so he'll get a feel for the dance steps that Juan Soto wants, and he'll keep us in the loop.
Only a handful of teams that realistically can afford a player like Soto. The Mets specifically, what kind of threat do you think they pose?
I mean, I don't. It's hard to say. I mean, I know they're, they want to win. They're in a large market with us. They had a taste of success this year, and they want to, move the needle even more forward. So, and the best way to do that is get, import quality players to what you already have. So that's what they, and anybody interested in winning and being the last team standing, that's what it's all about, is trying to find great players and add it to your mix.
Does that make you nervous that their owner has 3 times the net worth as your owner, and if they want him, that they can get him, probably?
I think that's just the nature of the beast. And big market owners with deep pockets aren't the only ones signing, players to big deals. I mean, you've seen the San Diego Padres sitting out in the West Coast. They've imported a lot of big-time players with big-time contracts, that they've out-competed other teams of interest for. So it comes in various forms in various cities at various times. So, the market on a year-in, year-out basis is strong from all different aspects of the baseball universe. So, we do our best to compete with whomever on a year-in, year-out basis. So
the last 2 big players that you entered record contracts to, Cole and Judge, were players that you had targeted going into the offseason. Do you think Soto's going to be in a different realm than that as far as difficulty in trying to get him? Both players you signed in December last time.
I'm sure signing him, no matter who you are, is going to be difficult, because he's a generational type talent. So at the very least, I feel really proud that we made a trade to get him in here to take a run at it in 24. Got us all the way to that, with a lot of other moves. Got us all the way to the American League Championship and 3 games shy of a World Series. But back at it, trying to run into whether it's retaining him or somehow finding a different way to be, in a position to try to be a world champion. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But signing any of these people, especially the better the player you are, the more difficult it is. So, and even though not everybody can compete for their services, there's enough that can. So and it always takes only one to do, to get to that magic word yes that a player would say. It only takes one person to deliver whatever they want at any time. So,
What's your thoughts on first base going forward? First base.
Rizzo's obviously a free agent, so we have our internal options, and then we'll evaluate the free agent and trade market at the same time. So we'll see.
You see Ben Rice as a full-time catcher, or do you think that?
Not sure. I mean, he's a great bat. He's got some serious slug and on-base percentage in there. We really are excited about the offensive profile. He's a catcher first, and first base was a learning position for him at the major league level, especially. And so, is he a possibility? He's a possibility. But we're going to evaluate what again presents itself here in the marketplace, both free agency and trades, as well as our internal options.
Pete Alonso's name come up in your call with Boris by any chance?
Yeah, sure he did. So there's a lot of high-quality players in this marketplace, and certainly Pete did an amazing job with the Mets. And so had a brief conversation with Scott about a lot of his. He has a lot of free agents, which is normal, and Pete's one of them. So yes.
Gleyber is a guy who, obviously a talented player, led the league in errors at second base, worst fielding percentage, made base running mistakes, but obviously he's very talented too. So how do you approach second base now, knowing that there's a chance to improve defensively there if you go get someone else? What's your thought about improving?
Because Gleyber's a free agent, so there's a vacancy currently. So what are our internal options? Was that moving Jazz over to second? If you don't re-sign Gleyber, does that move Jazz Chisholm, who was learning, obviously third base on the run in the second half last year? So we had somebody in theory learning out of position, just the way our roster turned out to being. And do you move him over to second? Do you look at Caleb Durbin, your internal candidates coming up? Is there external candidates that you run into that you can import as a free agent that might not be Gleyber? If it's not Gleyber, maybe you bring Gleyber back. Is there a trade candidate? Our job is to evaluate all of it, and then how it settles in with the rest of the roster. But those are things that we will be doing.
Does that bother you? His defense, is that a problem in your mind when you look at his fielding percentage? And obviously he's very good going to the right, but not very good going the other way.
I think Gleyber has been a really good Major League Baseball player. In the end, one of the reasons why we got as far as we did. I'm not going to dissect what he's good at and what he's not as good at. Obviously, I think he'll have a lot of conversations with a lot of teams that have a need in that area. And that also might include us, who knows. But I appreciate his efforts while he was here. And he was mashing down the stretch like we needed him to be. But again, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, but I'm not going to dissect what's best as we move forward. We're just going to obviously make the best decisions we can with what's available from within or outside. We can import a third baseman, move Jazz over. We can promote from within with a guy like Caleb Durbin, for instance, who's crushing it in the Arizona Fall League. We can run into some trade opportunities or free agents. Just not sure what we're going to do just yet. But I want to thank Gleyber for the time while he was here, without closing any doors either on a reunion either. So.
Have you guys discussed the option you guys have on Aaron Boone? Are you guys close to picking it up? Where are things with that?
It's on the list of things to do. So obviously, if we have a little more time on the clock there, and those conversations will start probably after the next few days.
Do you anticipate picking it up? Is that what you expect?
I'll let the whole process be involved. I'm a big Aaron Boone fan. I think he's a great manager, and I think we've been lucky to have him. But obviously, let's go walk through the process and have the conversations that haven't been had with the people above me. So.
Have you spoken with?
I know it's 10 days after the World Series, so it's certainly coming up. I think probably by the weekend.
How would you categorize the coaching staff in the same way?
Can't deal with the coaches until obviously we'll do the manager first, then we'll get to the coaches. So,
were there some moves in the playoffs that didn't work out that you're disappointed in with him
That's true. You can do that. The manager's job is so impossible. So you can play the game of second guessing because you're either going to make a move and it'll be right, you make a move and it'll be wrong, and then have at it, right? So, as I said, I think he's a really, really good manager. I think we're lucky to have him, and he's done a great job. But at the same time, it's a very hard job to do, always. So, and it gets harder in the postseason because ultimately, it's either whatever you do either works or it doesn't. So there's no gray area. So.
Cash, is it if he's back, you just pick up the option, or do you think there's other alternatives, like extending him?
Oh, sure. I mean, all those things will be discussed. But listen, I can't put the cart ahead of the horse. We haven't gotten there, so we haven't had those discussions. So, as I said, touched on a little bit yesterday with a smaller group. We were dealing with the Rizzo option and all the ones that have been informed that were in front of us first, like Cole and Trevino and whoever else I can't even remember now. So, we'll be picking things off slowly. So,
your last 7 playoff trips have been very, very similar. You've been good enough to beat AL Central teams and one time Oakland and not other teams. Do you think you're lacking something, that there's a class of teams that maybe you can't beat at that time?
No, I don't. I don't make anything of this AL Central, AL West stuff at all. So I think that's silly, personally. So they're good. They're really good teams in the American League. I'm used to navigating it. The American League East has been one of the toughest divisions in baseball, typically year in and year out. So I don't understand. If you want to try to make sense of an American League Central versus American League West, go ahead. I'm not going to waste time on it.
Well, it's not AL West. You're 7-0 in the playoffs against the AL Central. You're 1-7 against everyone else. Is that too small of a sample size for you to take something out of it?
I don't take anything out of it because every one of those teams are different. Every year is different. So, no, I don't. I think every one of those years we had a chance to run the table and be the last team standing, or if we didn't play our best baseball, we'd be going home. So this year's team got us all the way to the AL championship. Last year we didn't make it. 2 years ago we got wherever we got. It's just you got to get in, and then you got to play your best baseball to get the whole way. And to be the world champs, you got to be really good, which I think we produce really good teams. You got to be healthy, and you got to be lucky. And so we'll try to continue to figure out how to navigate October. We've done it before, but there's many times, many years, the best teams going in don't win. And it's not because they're flawed. It's just navigating October is difficult.